Greetings everyone, welcome aboard. Joseph James, schooltrade.com. It's April 15th, 2011, finally Friday. Happy Friday to you guys. We made it through a tough week, challenging week, of course. We know we're still waiting for that volume to come back here. End of the first quarter, now into the second quarter here, second week of April, and we still have a little bit of shakiness as we trade this morning. Of course, Friday morning today was tax day here in the U.S. April 15th, all the people lining up to pay their taxes this morning. So I think that obviously had a little bit to do with the fact that we had some lower volume this morning. Lots of news events though, right? We had news every 15 minutes for the first hour and a half this morning. So the first couple hours today, we had real slow speed, narrow ranges, and we also had to worry about these alarm clocks going off that we talked about this morning, the morning prep. We went over all the news this morning, and so we had to navigate through all the news this morning that came out 8:30, 9 o'clock, 9:15, 9:55, 10 o'clock, right? There were lots of news today. So, but of course, the morning started off slow. So our first hour and a half, our first 90 minutes to 180 minutes there, we were waiting. 9:30 this morning, what did we see? Crude bearish channel. That was the first thing we saw this morning that showed up. We had a sideways range on crude. We noticed crude coming down in a bearish channel. So when we see a bearish channel, we sell the highs of the channel, right? That was the first trade I took of the day, selling the highs of the channel. Now, around 10 o'clock though, we saw it happen again. Back at the highs of the channel, tried to sell the highs again, but we saw at 10 o'clock a little bit different. We didn't see the sellers, we saw buyers. And when we saw the sellers fail at 10 o'clock, we saw buyers come in. I then bought, right? I bought the pullback after it rises up. So we see a bearish channel on crude, sold the highs in the channel first. The second time around though at 10 o'clock we saw a failure at those highs, and we decided that would mean let's buy at those highs, and it was our biggest trade of the day after doing that. And we talked about this yesterday. Remember guys, yesterday we talked about sometimes lack of conviction is conviction in itself. Well, that's exactly what happened today at 10 o'clock on the crude. We actually had two of those trades today. One of them was a scratch for me. The other one was a really big winner. Took two of those failure trades today. We're at the highs of the sideways range. We're coming down in a bearish channel, right? So of course you can sell the highs for 1. I'm going to sell the highs here for 2, right? Try to sell the highs here for 2. But what did we see? We saw the sellers fail. So right here, I'm looking for a chance to sell the highs. I want to sell the highs, but when I see the price break those, right, that swing low to come back down, what do I see? I see no sellers. Not only do I not see sellers, but I see big buyers. And these big buyers are coming in quicker and quicker and quicker. And I say, well, guys, I'm looking for sellers and speed picking up. I'm seeing buyers and speed picking up right here, right? So what does that tell me? Well, it tells me, first of all, I'm not going short. Now what I know is if I see big buyers jump in once we get above this resistance level here, then I know there's a good chance this thing's going to jump. And so what do? I say, guys, I'm seeing sellers fail. Once I see big buyers above the BMT, I'm getting long. And so sure enough, what do we see? We see sellers fail, big buyers come in, so I buy. And what happens obviously is this time around, it hits the trend line, right? Gets me at +5, comes down, stops me out for a -5, and I get 0 dinero. Nothing out of the trade. So I get a scratch trade by reading tape. And look what actually happened though. Because obviously what happened was sellers fail, my trade fails long, it comes down, bounces me out, and then look at this, right? It just goes bam. And it was so disappointing because this obviously was exactly what we thought was going to happen 5 seconds ago. I of course am now sitting on my hands, right? I'm of course flat in the market with nothing in my pocket. And I'm going, you've got to be kidding me right now, right? That's what happens when you trade just after the news, right? Or in this case, just after the US Open at 9:35. So it's a little bit sloppy there just after the Open. And of course, I'm pulling my hair out at this point because I watched this thing do exactly what I just tried to do. And so what do? I come up here then and buy a pullback, right? Buy a pullback, 10:03. Right, it's a wave pattern long, and ultimately this was nothing more than me saying, oh darn it crude, are you going to really be like this right now? Right, we see the speed keep picking up, and if you guys recall, I really didn't want to chase after it. Right, once we got this price, once this price started rising back up, I'm now thinking I've missed this trade. I've missed it. So unless I got that pullback, I was sitting on hands here, right? Unless I got that pullback, I couldn't chase after it.